Good morning. Welcome to my quilting studio. I'm Bobby Collins, your Legit Kit certified instructor to help guide you through this Starry Night block of the month. You'll see behind me my Sophia. This was my very first block of the month. I had such a good time with it, and the beautiful part was that it was a block of the month so I could do it in little bits at a time, bite-sized pieces, and get through it and have a successful experience with creating a beautiful work of art with Legit Kits. Well, we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to do that with our Starry Night block of the month that you'll be beginning here in March. So with that, I want to take just a few minutes to review what will come in that very first packet. Now, I get excited, so I have already pulled the plastic cover off of mine, and I just want to walk through very quickly what's going to be in here. So you get a few things in the first kit that you will not get in all the kits, and that's okay, because here we're going to have some stickers that come in this. So you get a Legit Kit sticker so that you can put this anywhere you want, or just pin it up on your wall and see that it is beautiful and colorful, and it keeps you excited as you look at it each time. There's also a reminder from the company not to panic. And the beautiful part about a block of the month is we're not going to panic. This is going to be bite-sized pieces. We're going to be able to walk our way through it. And the other beautiful part of this is every month we'll be so excited that we're waiting for the very next packet to arrive so we can get started again. Now, this is a little bonus. It's a preview. Once in a while in your kits, you will get something that gives you a preview of a new design that will be coming soon. So this is a new design of a koi pond, and I lived in Hawaii for 25 years, and there were beautiful koi ponds there. So I'm really excited for this design to come out. When you receive your kit, there's a chance, based on timing, that your preview of a new kit may be different or it may be the same, but now you know already that koi pond is on its way. Also in your first kit, you're going to get a general guide and assembly instructions. This has a lot of good information, reference information for you to turn back to see how Legit puts their kits together, recommended ways to assemble them, and just some good general guidance. Now, I do want to point out, when you get into this kit, you're going to see examples, or this guide, you're going to see examples that are not going to be Starry Night. They're going to be of other quilts that Legit Kit puts out. That's because this general guide is a general guide. It is not unique to your kit. We'll walk through all of the unique areas within your kit, but the assembly and the process of putting together a Legit Kit is pretty much the same no matter which kit you get. It's just a matter of how many blocks and how many pieces in each block. So these are the general things that will come in this first packet that you'll get along with this. I'm going to set those over here out of the way, and we're going to look at some of the things that are specifically in this packet. Now, the cover is going to let us know that we are in Starry Night, month 1. This is based on a painting, a famous painting by Van Gogh, and the painting is beautiful. It's gorgeous, and we're going to see that when you finish your quilt top, it's going to be a work of art, just like Van Gogh's painting was. And you're going to appreciate and admire it just as much as people admire and appreciate the painting that he did. In addition to that, in the first month, you're going to get an overall depiction of what this quilt is going to look like. Now, what I like to do with this is pin it up on my wall. So I'm going to pause here just a moment, and when I come back, we're going to have taken down Sophia, and I'm going to begin by putting this depiction on the wall, which will lead us to using our design wall to put up the pieces as we assemble them in the block of the month. I'm back. Can you see that I've removed Sophia from my design wall, and you can see that I have placed the full depiction of Van Gogh's Starry Night, Legit Kit's Starry Night block of the month, so that when we're finished, as we finish each block, we can see where it places within that. Make sure ours is beginning to look exactly like what was provided and designed by Legit Kits. and that will give us a guide as to whether or not we're on track to make sure everything is good. So the next thing, let's go back to the contents of the packet that we received for month 1, and let's see what else is in here. So the next couple of pages are also something that will only be in this first kit. So in the first kit, you're going to get this depiction that shows you that the overall quilt will have 4 rows, A, B, C, and D. It's going to have 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you'll notice up here it says pattern side for Starry Night. So what that tells us is when we do block A1, if we have the paper side facing up so that we see that, then it's going to be in this upper left-hand corner. Now what we want to pay attention to though is here, I'm going to try and put these a little bit side by side where you can see them. When I look at this one, it's a mirror image. It still has rows A, B, C, and D, but now the columns 1, 2, 3, and 4 begin at the left and come towards the right. This is the finished quilt size. So when we take that block that we made and we flip it over, so the paper's on the back and the fabric is now on the front, what we're going to see is that A1 is now in the upper right corner. So when we flip that over and put it up on our design wall, this is what we're going to look at. When we're putting 2 blocks together and want to see that they're situated properly because we sew from the paper side, then we know that we put block A1 on the left and block A2 on the right to make sure we're sewing the appropriate sides together when we connect them. That's why this is important. So we'll want to hang on to these pages. This is the same thing we just put on the wall, only it's a blown up portion that shows the part that we're going to work on in month 1. So in month 1, we're going to work on these 2 blocks. They're the 2 blocks that are in the bright colors. Where you see it dulled out down here, those will be some future blocks. But we're going to be working on these 2 blocks. Now they happen to be A1 and A2. In each month, you will get a new page like this that will show you the blocks specifically that will be worked on during that particular month. Just like we had that assembly guide, we're going to have an assembly guide for the 2 blocks we're going to work on this month. We'll have a pattern side, and in a moment we'll see we'll have a finished side. So as we go through that, what we're going to notice is that this one is, just like before, a mirror image of this one. And it's going to let us know which 2 blocks we're putting together and allow us to see them from the paper side as well as from the fabric side. You'll get this for the set of blocks you're working on in each month that we work on. The next thing you'll see is a color guide. These have larger squares. You'll see the color, and each of these colors will be in this month 1. You'll see the coding that the company uses for that. This will mirror the codes that you see on the pieces that you work on. And then you'll see the actual color, and you'll have the size of the fragment. Well, that helps us to understand for sure what size we're looking for. So if this fragment is 4.5 by 5.5, I don't want to be looking for a piece of fabric to find it that's a fat 16th, because a fat 16th is larger than this fragment. If it's a scrap that's 5.5 by 9, I'm not going to be looking for a fragment that's 4.5 by 5.5. So it just helps me to identify which grouping that might be in. And I'll have a couple of pages of this because of the number of colors and fabrics that we have in this particular month. And you'll be able to see it continues on the next page. And you'll notice this follows essentially a color wheel gradient pattern on these. You'll also see the fabrics listed in a little different way. This is a fabric list by code. You'll again see the code that is being used on your pattern. The color, it's a smaller little piece of the color, but still the color. You'll get the name and you'll get the size. Now, if you were to buy just the pattern without the kit, which is not what our block of the month is, but it is something that you can get in many of the patterns with legit kits, and you decided you wanted to go purchase your own fabric, or you have leftover fabrics you want to try and use, then you can take this as essentially a shopping guide to be able to go around, whether it's in your stash or in your local fabric store or anywhere that you do your shopping for your fabric. Next, we have an assembly guide for a particular block. We saw the assembly guides for the 2 blocks being put together or the entire quilt being put together. Now we have an assembly guide for a single block. So as we go through this, we're going to see that we have instructions over here that show us that for block A1, it tells us that our first step will be to sew the segment A1C to the segment A1D. We'll move over here and we'll find that, and this line connecting that with a 1 on either end to show that's the direction the line goes in will match with the fact that this is the first seam that we sewed. Now this is beautiful because if you understand and follow directions by words, and that's easy for you, there's a way to do that. If you need a picture to help you see exactly what we're talking about, you also have that available to you. So there are 2 different ways to be able to look at this. We have this for A1 and A2, the 2 blocks that we'll be working on this month. And in each month, we'll have an assembly guide for any blocks that we work on during that month. I have been working on this, and so you can see I have checked some of these off, and you'll want to check some of those off as you go. Next we see we have, for each color that is included in this particular kit, we have a cut guide. Now the cut guide is not to scale. So this is not the size of the fabric that you'll have. This is not the size of the pieces that you'll cut out of this fabric. What it does show you is one possible arrangement that if you ordered the pieces that you were going to cut on this, you would be able to see there's a lot of white space here. That means we have plenty of fabric to be generous with our cuts. If there was very little white space, we would want to be a little more judicious with how close we do our cuts, still leaving a bare minimum of a 1/4 inch, but up to 1/2, 3/8 of an inch around that, so that we can have plenty of fabric to place it and get it in the right position when we sew it together. So when we do this, we have this as a guide. The other thing it tells us is sometimes I'll have a long skinny piece and it's going to take the whole side of this thing. Well, I want to know that in case I'm going to be cutting some other smaller pieces, I can make sure I leave one side available so it will fit for sure on that paper. Now I'll have these for every piece of fabric I have, and as I use these, I will check this off. And I'll be able to tell that I've completed that. And again, you can tell I've been working on this a little bit. So after we get finished with that, we're going to go over here to our papers that we're going to be sewing on. Now, because I've been working on them and I've already taken some out and looked at them, I've gone ahead and just set in here month 2's papers for an example of what you'll see in here. My month 1 papers have been cut apart and sewn on, and so they're not available for me to show you, and my fabrics have been cut on and sewn on. So these next 2 pieces will be in your kit, but they'll be the ones unique to A1 and A2. This happens to be B1, and there will be papers in here that cover all the segments that will create the blocks we're working on. So in your packet, you will see A1 and A2, and you will see the A, B, C, D, depending on how many segments are in each one of those. I believe A1 goes all the way through H, and A2 goes all the way through I. So you should see those. And we'll talk about a little later how to get those cut out and set up so that we can begin to sew on them. The beautiful part is these are on newsprint paper, which is very easy once you sew through it to tear off of the back. And we'll need, when we finish our quilt, to tear all that paper off. And so we want it to be as simple as possible. Now, once in a while, things will happen, and this may get a little mangled because we may make a mistake and have to go back and redo something. Or the fabric may get cut in a way that we just can't make it fit or reach. There's a guarantee from the company that if that happens, you let them know which piece got mangled of paper, and or which piece of fabric you couldn't make stretch or you need an extra piece of because you had a miscut, and they will send that to you in the mail. I tend to be a little impatient and like to just keep going if I can, and oftentimes there's extra fabric where I can get another piece cut out if I need it. So to avoid that when I can, so that I can just keep moving and not have to wait for the post office to get it to me, then I will take these newsprints and I'll make a copy in the copy machine on just regular copier paper, and that way I have a backup in case I need it. I've only had to use it once or twice, but it's nice to have there just in case. Now, if you do have to sew on the regular copier paper for some reason and you choose to do this, then I would just shorten my stitch a little bit more than normal. And we'll talk about stitch length as we get into the sewing. But this is something that I just choose to make an extra copy of just in case. But if you choose not to worry. The company has your back and they're going to take care of that for you. You just have to let them know. And then the final thing that you will find in your packet is the beautiful fabric that goes into this quilt. And again, I've been sewing on mine, and so I have block 1 fabric cut out. So for an example, for you to see what's in there, this is block 2 fabric. And in any of the packets, what you're going to find are the different size fabrics that will be in there. Sometimes, so the packet doesn't have a big lump in it any more than necessary, you'll see these broken apart. But they're in alphabetic order based on these codes. They tell you that they're for Starry Night. They tell you it's the confetti fabric. They tell you the color and the code and the size. So you have a sense of what you have. And they're in alphabetic order based on size of cut. So all of these will be in order. And then all of these will be in order. And you have to kind of watch these, especially in larger kits, because sometimes these are all just one piece, a fat 16. But you may have a fat quarter in some larger kits. You may have a half yard in some kits. If that's the case, then you will have all folded to this size, and you'll see them alphabetically to here. And then when it begins to get to the folded ones in different sizes, you'll see them begin again in the alphabetic order. And we'll talk in a little bit when we talk about tools, how we can organize those so that we can go through and have them readily available and easy to find as we do our cuts. So this is essentially what we have in our packet. And if you take an opportunity to unpack yours, make sure everything's there that you need. See if you have any questions. You can see the email at the bottom of the list. If you have a question about something that's in there and what you do with it, you can by all means email me and I will be glad to address that for you. If for some reason something is missing, then you'll need to contact the company directly at legitkits.com, and you can just go onto their website, get the contact information, and reach out to them directly, and they will either advise you, answer your question, or provide anything that might be missing when you go through your kit. In a little bit, if you want to continue to follow, we will have a video that talks about the tools and tips for being able to do our foundation paper piecing, and what I use and have found very helpful over the years, having been shared by a number of other people that help me in my foundation paper piecing, just to make it a little easier as we go through. And you know, if you've ever worked on a renovation job in your house, they always tell you if you have the right tool for the job, then it is helpful to make it go much easier. And that's what we're going to look for. What are the right tools for the job to make our job much easier? So I look forward to seeing you when we sit down for a few minutes and look at the tools and a little bit of the history of foundation paper piecing and how that works. You take care, and I'll see you soon.